and welcome back to Game of Thrones Legends. Today we're going over the changes that are being made to the Legendary Assault, which is the dragon attack in your alliance. I think that these changes are going to be a good thing, but I thought it might be helpful to have you guys be prepared for what the changes are going to be, since it is going to make the fights pretty different than they have been. So basically what they're saying here is that they're implementing the carrot and stick method into the assault battles. The basics of the carrot and stick method are that some teams are going to be better at certain dragons and some teams are going to be worse depending on what the dragon's abilities are. So each dragon will have carrots, which are the teams that should be better at defeating those dragons, and each dragon will have sticks. So it also depends on how strong your alliance is. So stronger alliances will have more teams that aren't going to work for these dragons, and we'll go over some of them in a second. They've only released the teams that are going to be better and worse for Viserion in both forms. Before we go over those teams, the other things they've added are the Alliance Ramp, which has already been a thing, but they are tweaking it a little bit, and then Exhaustion, which is a new thing for these fights. So Alliance Ramp has kind of been a thing already. That means that in order for weaker alliances or people that are just starting out and don't have as many characters available, the dragons become harder the longer that the battle goes on, so that people can still get rewards from doing the dragon fights. So the first few rounds are going to be manageable, and people that even have just started the game are going to be able to participate. And then the longer the battle goes on, the harder the dragon's going to get. And then Exhaustion is the thing that's going to be affecting us, means that you can no longer have infinite combos with the teams. Like, I see everyone using the same kind of teams for the dragon fights, like the recommended teams, probably because they give you infinite combos. Now that's no longer going to be a thing. So if you're able to get enough matches and replenish enough stamina to be able to use your skill twice in a single turn, which never happens to me, but if you're able to do that, that's going to be the max now, instead of just being able to use your skill again and again and again. So it's going to be a little bit easier for all of your teammates to participate instead of one person taking out the whole dragon. And then the other thing before we get into the main bit of this update is that the dragons are now going to have 5 levels of hardness instead of 10. They call them skulls, but they're saying that since champions can only reach level 7 of stars, why should the dragons be able to reach 10? So now they're only going to be 5 levels of toughness of these dragons. So, and your team is also going to be taken down a level of toughness when this update rolls out, so that no one is on the max difficulty. If they were on a 7, it's not going to jump to a 10. So Viserion is notoriously hard, which is why I think they're rolling out these ones first. The good thing is that his sleep cycle is so tough. You can't hit him for the 3 turns that he's asleep, otherwise he does this huge amount of damage on your team. Now it's only going to be 2 turns, so you only have to wait 2 turns to use your team. But because of that, they're saying that you want to use teams that are going to use their skill all at the same time, instead of teams that you just want to get their skill out as soon as it's ready. So people like raid teams, which I know isn't really commonly used, but they're saying that that's going to be a good team for Viserion, because you kind of want to wait until everyone has their skill and stack them all at once before, so that you can get the max amount of damage with raid. People like the free cities, who you want to be using as soon as possible so you can get more stamina and use them again, are not going to be as good, because he's going to wipe that out. So Birthright or Enraged or Fury are no longer going to be effective on him. So he's going to remove all of those with a new skill. So the new skill is that Viserion strikes all enemies for 250% attack physical damage and removes all Birthright, Fury, and Enraged from them. So those are teams you're going to want to avoid with this new update. So the Enraged and the Birthright, that was one of the sticks. One of the carrots that we're getting though is that you can now bypass the sleep cycle, which is going to be so awesome, because waiting those turns is hard. So if you're using a team like the Starks, which is great for all players, because new players are going to get the Starks, old players are going to have really powerful Starks. If you can get Viserion brittle in time, you can bypass the sleep, because he's not going to wake up if he's brittle. They are really going for these raid teams here, which is kind of cool, because the raid teams are not really often used, which I think is going to make them more valuable if this specific dragon needs you to use those teams. Raid is going to add stamina, because their thoughts here were that you wanted a team to be able to build all of their skills within that 2-turn sleep window that he has. So now if raid is applied, they're going to have a bunch of stamina built up, so you can keep having all of your team members use their skills all at once. So a team that they're saying is probably not going to be so useful anymore is the Night's Watch team. which is really overpowered anyway because I see them in the raids and stuff and I'm like, nah, I'm not fighting these guys. So what they're saying is that the Night's Watch is a good team, but they don't do enough damage and just survive for too long, so the timer is running out instead of being able to do the max amount of damage. Okay, so the last dragon we're gonna go over is Icy Viserion, but it's kind of cool because they have been playing into the story for this one. So certain characters are going to be more effective against Icy Viserion than others. So these characters are, number one, the Baratheons, because the main point of damage against Icy Viserion is coming from gem damage, which I didn't know, so I wasn't building my team for that. Or maybe this is new. But the Baratheons can stack up to 500% gem damage if you let them stack enough and they survive long enough for that, which is crazy. I didn't know it could even get to that much. But they're saying that that's going to be really effective, so using Purple Stannis and those kind of characters are going to be really good against Icy Viserion. But the other one that's really awesome is that reinforcement teams are going to be really effective against Icy Viserion, which means the Night King, which, yes, is very tragic, but it's kind of cool, is going to be really good against this dragon as well. But also because the main amount of damage is coming from Viserion applying ice and fire onto your entire team, which the Night King is immune to, so that's a cool little perk. Another cool little perk is that the winter gems that Viserion spawns on the board are going to heal the Night King, so it's kind of hard to kill someone that's being healed by your main attack. And then the reinforcement part plays in by every time someone is reinforced on the battlefield, Viserion takes 15% max HP true damage, which is a lot of damage, especially if you have the Night King who is surviving a long time on the playing field because he's being healed, which he's going to keep summoning whites onto the playing field, so that means that that reinforcement is going to keep happening. That's how you're going to get a lot of damage, which is kind of cool because the Night King, I feel like, is an underrated character and doesn't get used so often, so this is going to make him essential for this if you don't have the Baratheons. Using the Night King is fun, and you get to do part of the story. So some of the sticks for this team, which is kind of unfortunate, is that the Lannisters were doing more damage than the Baratheons while they were testing it. So they said, you know what, we will add a thing where every single time you match a coin, you take damage. I guess when this update rolls out, don't use the Lannisters, because you're just going to be taking damage from even having them on your team. It's going to force us to try out new teams, which is kind of nice, because I use the same team for every single fight, and it's kind of boring. I want to use more characters and have them be better. So I think this is going to be a good new rollout, and I'm thinking that when this update gets launched, we can go through and test out all of these teams and see how they do and if we get more damage. So yeah, that is the main update when it comes to the Legendary Assault battles. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!